Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here to give you a look at a really unique COB LED light for video and even for portrait work that comes from SmallRig. This is the RC-60B, and it is unique from other such units that I have reviewed before for a couple of reasons. Number one, it is obviously unusually compact and portable. It weighs just 650 grams, which is about the weight of, say, one of my Sony mirrorless cameras. And obviously it's compact enough that it can be dropped into a camera bag in a pretty typical lens slot. But what is unique about this little LED light on top of that is the fact that it has a built-in battery pack, and so it allows you to pump out a whole lot of light but running it right off the internal battery. And that internal battery will give you about 75 minutes of runtime at 100% in eco mode, or about 45 minutes-ish of full pop in its full not eco mode. It also gives you options, because the power source is USB-C, to power it from a V-mount type battery, from even a power delivery power bank that has a sufficient standard. And so it gives you a lot of versatility. And then of course you can use an AC adapter and plug it into the wall as well. On top of that, there is a very reasonable price of just $199 US for this. And as we're going to break down in our conclusion, that's a great value when you consider the fact that V-mount batteries that have the typical output or battery capacity of this only run about $20 less. And so there's a lot of value here, and we're going to explore that along with some of the tests that I've done to see if it holds up to the marketing claims. But to break down some of those marketing claims, there is a built-in 34 mAh battery, which is basically the equivalent of about a 50 watt-hour V-mount battery. And so the claim is, which we'll test, 45 minutes at full power or 75 minutes in eco mode. It has a Type-C power delivery fast charging, and so you can charge up to 100 watts power delivery into it. When I threw it on my, one of my power banks, I was charging more in the 60 to 70 watts. Now you'll charge faster at the beginning, and it slows down a little bit at the end as it tops off the battery, which is pretty typical, like with V-mount batteries as well. As mentioned, you can power it from a variety of different sources, which is extremely useful. It weighs in at 650 grams or 1.4 pounds, and it is rated at 11,200 lux at 1 meter, and that is using the included reflector. You have it is bicolor, and so you have the ability to range from 2700 Kelvin on the warm end up to 6500 Kelvin on the cool end. And as mentioned, it is COB or chip on board, which allows for greater efficiency and just kind of cleaner output of light. Now, there are a couple of things that we'll break down as far as what's included. What is included is a nice custom nylon carrying case. There is a clip here that allows you to really easily just add on a battery if you're wanting to have external power like a V-mount battery. And so I'm using a V-mount battery from SmallRig, but you don't have to. And so it just can easily clip that onto the back, and then you can have the V-mount battery attached and run the power output into that, and it's very, very simple. So that clip there is included, and it has a fair bit of movement to allow you to use different types of V-mount batteries there. Included, it does have a run and gun type handle if you want to. This is obviously a video light you can use on the fly, very, very useful. Then of course it has a standard attachment if you're going to want to go onto a typical light stand of some kind, going down to where you'll mount on the top of that. Actually, at the moment, I just have a quick release plate on there because I've been throwing it on like portable travel tripods to have the ability to run power on the fly. The little mini reflector is included, as are a couple of power cables, USB-C to USB-C ends, both a short one, which is perfect for connecting the battery to a V-mount battery to the back of the light without having a lot of cord dangling around, and then a longer, about 3 meter or 10-foot one that you can run to the AC adapter. Now, not included is this mini softbox, which by the way, I love. It's nice and compact, but gives you some real options for shaping the light. There is, it comes with a diffuser or a honeycomb that'll run you about 39 bucks. And then of course, if you're wanting to run off AC power or you want to quickly adapt it, they do sell a 100-watt output power delivery type power brick AC adapter here. It's actually a really nice one, and that's a nice amount of power, so you can use it for a variety of other things. That'll cost about 45, 46 bucks. And by the way, I do really like the fact that the custom case here actually leaves a spot for something like that adapter there. So anyway, you can travel light. A lot is included here. Okay, in these series of tests, I'm going to be using a lux meter, and I'm going to be testing the light output at a variety of distances and in different configurations. So what we'll do is we're going to get lux readings at 1 meter and then at 3 meters. We're going to get them with the softbox attached. Right now there's a diffuser on there. We'll remove that and test it with that. We'll use the standard beauty dish, which is going to increase the output. But then I'm also going to test the eco mode compared to the full output capacity. And then I'll also test it to see if there's a difference between running off of the battery in full power mode and then running it off of an AC adapter. And so we'll get lux values for all of those things so we can see how much light that this RC-60B is actually producing. So amongst those tests that I ran, I did a variety of things with the lux meter, and so I determined the light output at various color temperatures, from 2700, mid-range at about 4500, and then at 6500 Kelvin. What I found is that the cooler the light goes, and so up to the 6500 range, the more and more light output, light output you get. And so your maximum is going to be right close to the source. I got 356,860 lux at 6500 Kelvin, so about 20% more light intensity than what I got at the 2700 range. So if you want lots of light output, go cooler rather than warmer when you choose your light temperature. As far as testing the light output in the full versus eco mode, in eco mode at a 1 meter test distance, I got about right under 12,000 lux, whereas I got about 17,500 lux in the full mode. And obviously further out at the 3 meter mark, those two figures were 917 versus 1,375 lux. And so you get about 1/3 more brightness in the full versus the eco mode, though obviously at the cost of some additional battery life. Now, I tested the light output using different power sources. And so I used the AC adapter, that one that I mentioned earlier. I used this SmallRig V-mount battery. This is a 99 watt-hour V-mount battery. And then I used the built-in battery in the unit itself. And what I found is that there was, some obviously a little bit of range with the brightest light output coming from the AC adapter, followed fairly closely by the V-mount battery, and then lagging a little bit behind was the built-in battery on this. So if you want to get max light output, using an AC adapter is going to give you the most, and a V-mount battery will get you pretty close to getting that, both of those being a little bit more than the built-in battery itself. Now, in terms of how long the battery life held up, when I tested it at 100% output in eco mode, I got 72 minutes in my test. So about 3 minutes less than the claim, which, is fairly close. So I'm not going to quibble over that. When I did the same test on the full output, not eco mode, I got 44 minutes, though that is with a caveat. So they claimed 45 minutes, I got 44. But what I found is that after 32 minutes, the light output actually dropped a little bit. It automatically stepped down to help to preserve battery life. And so that is kind of a no-no to me, because if that happened right in the middle of a particular shot, it really could ruin the shot. So I don't love that thing, and that is one place where I'll knock it on. I tested it using it for portrait lighting, and that's where I really love using the softbox, and using the softbox with the diffuser allowed me to get quite close to the subject, or in this case, I was the subject and had someone else taking the photos. And so I got a really nice diffusing of the light, and obviously the ability to control the output and the color temperature. All of that was nice. I actually quite like using fixed lighting for portraits, particularly with a single subject. Also worth noting is that this light does have a CRI rating of 97+, so color accuracy was good for that as well. I've used it for several of my video episodes to this point, and I liked it just fine. Now, I found that at my typical operating distance, having the diffuser on cut the light output down too much. And so I continued to use the Softbox, but I used it without the diffuser, and I loved that. I liked it better than using the included reflector. You can get brighter light output, and so if you're wanting to light a big area, this is better. If you want softer light output, I like something like this better for shaping the light. But everything worked fine as a part of that. I also did test, it does have 9 different effects modes, and I tested those, though, I mean, that's pretty standard fare at this point. Though I will say you have several options. You can control the intensity, the kind of the duration of the effect itself. You can, tweak color, temperature, things like that. Not all that hard to operate, and so that is, it's fine. I think it's mostly a gimmick for most people, but at least it's there. No harm, no foul if you don't want to use it. So let's talk about some things that I like and some things I don't like. Things I like, I love the portability of this light. It really can be easily used handheld. You can throw it into your camera bag. It's easy to bring along. I love the flexibility, the ability also to run that run and gun from the internal battery. If you're not needing to shoot long format, 30 to 40 minutes of maximum light output. And then of course, if you're using at lower levels, which most of the time, frankly, you're going to be, means that you can get much longer runtime out of that. And so it makes it very, very useful for getting run and gun type footage. So I love that. I do love that it comes with the carrying case, and that they thought of, making the space for something like the power delivery adapter, even if it is an optional item. But I appreciate the fact that they thought about that and made space for it. By the way, that space is typically just filled with a very easily removable kind of foam insert, but it had the space that fits that perfectly. I also was really pleasantly surprised by the included cables. I've mentioned that they are really nice links, but the quality of the cables is, obviously a cut above your typical cable. These are series cables that deliver a good flow through of power. And so I appreciated that, and I appreciated their links, both of which I think are extremely handy. And the fact that they included both is great. The internal battery life is long enough to not be a gimmick. It's long enough to actually be useful. I appreciate that. I appreciate the quantity of light that this little light can produce. It's enough, again, that it's not a gimmick. It is usable in a wide variety of situations, though obviously you would need probably multiple of those. If you were, lighting a larger set area, you might want multiple lights, but of course you probably knew that already. So I appreciate that. I do love the compact softbox. I think it's good value for money. The fact that it comes with a few modifiers and it is extremely useful. So I appreciate that. And again, it's good quality of light. I've mentioned this has a pretty good quantity of light, but that is good quality of light. And when you collapse it down, it's actually quite a small footprint as well. And so again, I appreciate that. The unit itself is very quiet. It is in eco mode, it's only running at about 23 decibels, and then it ramps up to 26 decibels, which is still quieter than your refrigerator. And so even in sitting in the same room, I could hear it if in an otherwise silent room, but it sounds basically just like a little bit of light, kind of white noise. So not obtrusive at all, shouldn't be an issue for you. The price is really, really fantastic. The price at $200, it is, and having that built-in battery, the fact that you're paying about 20 bucks more than what you would for a similar output V-mount battery means that that's a fantastic value for that. And of course, I love the fact that it's USB-C charging. It means you just have a lot of different options for charging it, even on the fly in a vehicle. The list goes on and on. So that is fantastic. So let's talk about some things that I don't like. I know this has seemed pretty rosy to this point, but there are a couple of issues. One of them I think that is fairly critical. And that is, number one, that there is no remote control of this. There's no Bluetooth app. There is, there's obviously nothing like DMX type control. There's no remote control. And so that means that if you're going to make changes to the light output or color temperature, you've got to actually access the unit to do that. That's not great because it means that it might limit where you're going to position it. If you're going to put it up high, it's going to be a pain to access it. And so this is not a great light for that kind of thing. It obviously does also not have a Bowens type mount. This is much, much smaller. I checked, and the Bowens diameter is actually wider than what this whole unit is. So that means you're working with some proprietary accessories, and so there's going to be a limited number of accessories for it, and they are ones that you're going to have to buy from SmallRig because they're only going to fit this size. So that might be a bit of an issue, though it's kind of understandable with how small the unit itself is. The fact that in one of my tests, I saw that the light output dropped to try to preserve light. I don't like that. I would actually prefer it, run out faster than the claimed time, which is what it would do if it didn't do that. But I would prefer that and have consistent light output until it goes dead, rather than it kind of throttling back a little bit. And so, I'm not crazy about that. But in conclusion, I do love both the versatility and the portability of this light. I love the various powering options for it. Again, there are a couple of accessories that aren't included, but they're also priced reasonably, and you could buy both of those and the light itself and still be under $300, which really to me gives a fair amount of value for it. And and the fact that it's $20 more than a similarly sized V-mount battery makes me feel like this is a really strong value. And I love the versatility of the light, and so I've used this light a lot, and I will use it a lot going ahead because it's really, really easy to use. I think that's what a lot of us are looking for. I'm Dustin Abbott, and so if you want more information, you can look in the description below to my written review, and there I have a lot more details about the various tests. If you're interested in that information, Lux values it, a whole different variety of things. So you might want to check that out. There's also some buying links there. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.